Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another interesting combo to run. We've never tested any of these shells before, at least not in this particular gauge anyway, so I'm really curious to see how they do. Usually in their other gauge and variants of them, they're okay. They're never anything over the top impressive, but usually they're halfway decent for a more budget-oriented shell. But with the variant of them we've got today, I think there's a chance we may be pretty limited. But we could always be surprised. You never know how something's really going to perform until you try it. So we'll see what happens. But for the shells I've got today, I picked up some more of the Fiocchi Golden Turkey shells, but these ones are the 20 gauge version. We've tested them in 12 gauge with some okay results for a very cheap budget-oriented shell. I think these are about $1 a round or so. So for a turkey shell, definitely budget option for sure, but we've never tested them in 20 gauge, so we'll see what they do, I guess. But they're a 20 gauge, 3-inch, 1¼ ounce payload of lead 5s at about 1200 feet per second. We know how limited lead can be in a 20 gauge past about 30 yards or so. And with these already being a cheaper, much more basic shell, I don't know that we're going to be able to really push it much past 30 yards or so. But we're going to still try them at 40 through a couple chokes today and see what we get for a starting point. We could always be surprised. At least that's the hope, but we'll see what happens, since these are just a basic nickel-plated lead, no buffer material, and not even a completely full-length wad either. It's much closer to a Target field-style wad, so we'll just have to see what happens overall. For the setup that we're running, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge. It's got a vector red dot on top with a 26-inch barrel, and like I mentioned a second ago, we've got two chokes that we're going to run it through head-to-head. Those being these two. Now, these are kind of a little bit on different ends of the spectrum here. We've got a Patternmaster Code Black Turkey. It's a 565, kind of one of your big industry standards. Definitely a little bit higher priced compared to a bunch of other options out there, but we know these are great performing chokes. And then we've got this guy, which is an HS Strut UnderTaker. This is a 572 constriction. It actually measures a little closer to the 575 choke range though. And this is your cheap $20 to $25 choke. So two ends of the spectrum here, two different constrictions. I found that lead and 20 gauge can sometimes prefer a little less choke, and sometimes these more cheaper basic chokes perform better than you would actually think with the cheaper loads as well. So we'll see different chokes, different styles, different constrictions, and we'll get an idea on what they like. So as for today's test, we're running everything the same as usual, although we may have a pretty range limited setup with these shells anyway. We're still going to run them side by side, taking a shot through both of those chokes at 40 yards, and we've got the chronograph as well to get the velocities. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll take both of our shots and just see what we can get for a starting point with these Golden Turkey 5s, in 20 gauge anyway. Will they be halfway decent? Will they be usable? I don't know yet, but let's see what we get. All right, so we'll take a quick look at our velocities before we look at our targets. We have a boss claim of 1200. However, we were seeing a little bit over that number. With our HS Strut 572, we saw 1236. And with the Patternmaster, we saw 1285. So averaging about mid 1200s or so. Pretty typical, I would say, for a lead turkey load across the board. But did we actually see two decent patterns down there at 40? Or are these shells just not impressive at all? I think we've got a pretty clear answer down there so far, but let's check out our targets and see for sure. Okay, well, here we are now down at our 40-yard paper, and yeah, they are pretty terrible. It's pretty obvious right off the bat, this is not a shell that I would probably want to use out to 40 yards. To be fair, at least not through these two combos, but it's pretty much copy and paste here between these. And unfortunately, this is kind of what I was worried about potentially seeing coming into it. On the left, we have our HS Strut 572. On the right, we have our Patternmaster 565. Both of them are pretty terrible, all things considered. But first, we'll start over here on the left with our HS Strut UnderTaker 572. Do we have a dead turkey at 40 yards? Maybe. I mean, there's one that might have clipped a little bit of spine right down here in the bottom of his neck, and you would have had a few body shots down there. But overall, that is not a pattern I would really call 40-yard capable. And honestly, not even really a great wing shooting pattern either. It's way spread out. It's got big holes all mixed in throughout it as well. So it's just not good overall. Maybe our pattern might have favored a little low, or at least our core. Maybe we have somewhat of a core down at the bottom of that turkey target, but I wouldn't go that far to call it a core, myself anyway. It's just shot all over the paper. Big gaps and voids between everything. The top half is definitely way thinner than the bottom half is. So yeah, not impressed for sure. I was hoping for a little better, but I'm really not overly surprised either. Because now we have our Patternmaster 565, and it's pretty much a carbon copy, really. Pretty much the same story, although this time we did get one pellet through the brain and maybe one or two more down in the bottom of the spine. So he might be dead at 40 yards, but still not a pattern I would trust at that distance for sure. Again, kind of looks like the, I guess, theoretical core that we might have, in our imagination anyway, might be a little bit low on that target. My red dot is not zeroed with either of these chokes or this shell, but both of them to favor low like that is not something we typically see. So ultimately, just not a combination I would hunt with. Way too broad, way too spread out. Now, of course, if we shot these at 20, 25 yards or so, it would absolutely do the job at those ranges. But even out here to 40 yards, we've seen other basic field loads that outshoot these, no doubt about it. So looking at these two side by side, I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's all bad, really. Not even a great wing shooting pattern, like I mentioned a minute ago. And here's the thing. We've tested plenty of 20 gauge lead turkey loads. Obviously, we didn't expect these to be Longbeard XR capable, but even what I would consider the subpar lead 20 gauge turkey loads, like some of the Remington Nitro turkeys, they still outshot both of these patterns here. So it's just not impressive overall. Maybe in doing some more testing, we can find a better choke for them. I think if we stand any chance at all, it's either going to be going to a lot of constriction to try and overcome how bad they are, or it's going to be opening our choke way up and trying to not interrupt our pattern performance as much as possible. I don't think we stand a very good chance at that, but we'll see. I also have some of these in 6s. Maybe those will be the magic combination, but I highly doubt it as well. But let's pull both of these targets down. I'll finish drawing some circles and counting some pellets. There's not going to be much to see, but we'll get an idea on how poor it actually did perform, I guess. Okay, well, now we've got our turkey targets out of the way, and these still remain pretty terrible overall. Technically, we do have a winner, that being the HS Strut choke over there on the left, but can you really honestly call either one of these much of a winner? At 40 yards, I really kind of don't think so. But again, we'll start with the HS Strut 572. We have a 10 and 20 inch circle drawn here. Within the 10 inch ring, we have 29 pellets. And within the 20 inch ring, we have an additional 63. I seriously think we've had 410 lead loads that outshot that pattern right there, even out to 40 yards. As far as pellet count numbers go, not much. You can see definite bigger voids and stuff mixed in throughout there as well, so it's not an overly condensed or even pattern. We covered most of the rest of the paper as well, so just not anything that I want to see. Might be 30-yard capable, or at least a lot more potential at 30 yards than 40, but nowhere near the capability of even some of the other basic turkey loads out there for lead in a 20 gauge. The double X shells, the Remington Nitro turkeys, all of those will outshoot these. But technically, this is the mathematical winner for today, is this pattern you're looking at here. That's really not saying much overall. And here's our Patternmaster 565. Same 10 and 20 inch circle drawn. Within the 10, we only have 20 pellets compared to 29 with the HS Strut. And within the 20 inch leeway ring, we have an additional 45 pellets compared to 63 with the HS Strut. So more constriction, fancier, higher end choke did not help us out here any, that's for sure. The rest of the pattern is still much of the exact same story overall. So looking at these two again, kind of side by side, There really isn't much to look at, honestly. We know how limited lead can be at 40 yards from a 20 gauge. We've already said it several times, but just about any other lead turkey load is going to beat out at least these two performances here. Maybe we can try the 6s and get better results. Maybe we can try different chokes and get better results. Maybe they're going to want a lot more constriction. Maybe they're going to want a lot less constriction. We'll see, but I think this is probably going to be about the general consensus average for what we see with these, unfortunately. They're a cheap shell, but they're a glorified field load at the best, I would say. Not even really an ideal wing shooting pattern either. There's much better options out there for that too. So, was hoping for better, but I'm not entirely surprised to see this result. And here we have our two wads. You've got your HS Strut 572 on the left and your Patternmaster 565 on the right. Both of them look almost identical, but immediately you can tell these are your general, just basic target or field style wads. Definitely not a full-length turkey wad. This absolutely has pellets stacked way above it when it's loaded in the shell. Having these style wads can get you good, nice, even patterns, but as far as the condensed turkey pattern goes, not exactly what you want, especially when they're not buffered or anything like that either. So just not really loaded to be an ideal turkey load unless you're hunting at 20, maybe 25 yards or so. Then it would be more than effective. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about these two results right here? I'm not entirely surprised. When they're loaded like that, we know how limited lead can be in a 20 gauge off the bat, and this is kind of the result you get, really. Maybe if we had a little bit of buffer material and an actual full-length, more turkey-style wad, we might actually get some okay patterns. They're probably still going to be limited, but they might be better than this. Because even for a general wing shooting pattern, I mean, it would be fine at 30 yards and in, but once you get past there, we're definitely starting to pick up bigger voids in our pattern that I don't like to see. So I'm definitely not too impressed here. This is obviously the first test we've done with them, so we'll see what happens if we continue to do some more testing with them. But I have a sneaky suspicion this is probably going to be about as good as we get, really. And of course, if you're somebody that hunts their birds in at really close ranges or is in thick cover and wants a budget option where you're going to be taking shots at 20, 25 yards, maybe 30 yards or so, that's going to kill a turkey just fine. But even then, compared to other basic turkey loads out there, the Winchester XX, the Remington Nitro Turkey, and even other basic field or upland loads, can all pretty much outshoot that, from what I've seen anyway, especially at those closer ranges. So, to each their own. These are a budget choice. If that's what you got, run it, but limit your range. But it's definitely not going to be my preferred choice. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these 20 gauge Fiocchi Golden Turkey shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Are either one of these a combo you would run? Or are you kind of like me to where, sure, if you take a shot at 20 yards, it's going to work, but it's just not what you want to run in your setup? And maybe what other combos do you want to see us put these shells through, or the number 6 variant of them I've got as well, that you think might give us a better result? You can let me know all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.